A woman is accusing Sean Diddy Combs of and her when she was 16 years old in 2000.
In the meantime, let's go back to New York City. Want to get some updates on the case that is unfolding there regarding Sean Diddy.
Adding to the chaos, a clip from October resurfaced in which Aniston had already denied the rumors during a media appearance. Of all the calls you get from your publicists, where you're just like, oh no, what's it going to be? She said at the time. And then you get an email saying some cheesy tabloid is going to make up a story, and it's that. I was not mad at it, she joked, before clarifying that the story was absolutely untrue. While her denial seemed definitive, the fact that the clip was circulating again suggested that people weren't ready to let the story go. And that's the thing about celebrity rumors, they take on a life of their own, regardless of the facts. Even as both Aniston's and Obama's teams dismissed the story, the internet refused to let it fade away. Fans continued to speculate, tabloids kept publishing, and late-night hosts couldn't resist cracking jokes about it.
The environment growing up in is going to have an impact on a child growing up. Now, it doesn't make excuses for what people do in adulthood, and the form that can take really depends on a lot of different things, including things such as what are the family values? Are the family values about, being open and honest about things, or if there's trauma in a family, do families deal with it, or how is that child?
Let's begin by discussing the long-running rumors about her involvement with Diddy's alleged wrongdoings. According to childhood friends who have come forward in recent documentaries, the wild parties she threw at their Mount Vernon family home when Diddy was still a boy weren't your typical neighborhood get-togethers. One of Diddy's longtime pals, Tim Patterson, called such evenings hectic and extremely unnerving, saying it was common to stumble into rooms full of activities that no youngster should ever see. Patterson further proposed that early exposure to such an atmosphere may have sowed the seeds for the actions Diddy is currently accused of.
According to the Rolling Stone, the doc features an alleged childhood friend of Puff's, hip-hop producer Tim Dog Patterson. He alleged that Janice, Diddy's mom, would often throw parties at Diddy's childhood home. He says that during the parties, it wasn't uncommon to walk into rooms where adults was having that was just there.
However, this is where things become even more hazy. How does that image fit with the stories of those parties? Could it be that she was trying to provide for her son in the only way she knew how, even if it meant ignoring the chaos around her, or was she more involved in that lifestyle than anyone ever knew? Janice has always been portrayed as a fiercely protective mother who worked tirelessly to give her son a better life. She sent him to private schools, kept him dressed to the nines, and moved the family to a nicer neighborhood after Diddy's father passed away tragically.
The parties, Tim says, verbatim, that's what we were privy to. This was what we were fed. Was it desensitizing us? I'm sure it was. Were we aware of it? No, that was just Saturday night. In the doc, per Rolling Stone, this type of childhood is alleged to be why Tim, the longtime friend of Diddy's, Puff believes that Puff found himself in the position he is in now.
Janice's disappearance couldn't have come at a more suspicious time, just as the heat on Diddy's legal battles intensified, with more accusers stepping forward and damning documentaries surfacing. Coincidence? Highly unlikely. Insiders speculate that her sudden departure may be an attempt to avoid getting dragged into the legal turmoil. If those infamous childhood parties were as wild as rumored, she could very well be called to testify. And if that happened, what would she reveal under oath? But there's more. Sources claim Janice didn't just leave quietly, she allegedly took a substantial amount of money with her, funds Diddy might desperately need to cover his mounting legal expenses. If true, this raises even more questions. Was she fleeing out of fear, or was she deliberately cutting ties and securing her own future while she still had the chance? Either way, her actions have created a major void in Diddy's support system, right when he needs it the most.
Another question that we just can't ignore is the role of power. Because one question is, how does somebody become the way they are? And then another question is, how are they allowed to stay the way that they are? And I think that also speaks to this kind of, lack of accountability.
Janice's disappearance couldn't have come at a more suspicious time, just as the heat on Diddy's legal battles intensified, with more accusers stepping forward and damning documentaries surfacing. Coincidence? Highly unlikely. Insiders speculate that her sudden departure may be an attempt to avoid getting dragged into the legal turmoil. If those infamous childhood parties were as wild as rumored, she could very well be called to testify. And if that happened, what would she reveal under oath? But there's more. Sources claim Janice didn't just leave quietly, she allegedly took a substantial amount of money with her, funds Diddy might desperately need to cover his mounting legal expenses. If true, this raises even more questions. Was she fleeing out of fear, or was she deliberately cutting ties and securing her own future while she still had the chance? Either way, her actions have created a major void in Diddy's support system, right when he needs it the most.
Saying to me, like, how did you keep, why did you keep going? Why were you there? I'm like, it literally is around me. If I don't stay at home, this is the atmosphere I'm in. Like, I have no choice.
Things take an even more complicated turn with reports that the FBI is closely monitoring Janice's disappearance. While she hasn't been charged with any crimes, her connection to Diddy's case could make her a person of interest. Some insiders believe it's only a matter of time before her name appears on a wanted list, especially if she's withholding crucial information. For now, her whereabouts remain unknown. Some claim she's in Europe, while others insist she's hiding in the Caribbean. Wherever she is, staying off the grid in today's hyper-connected world is no small feat. Her sudden escape carries broader implications. First, it casts doubt on the image she has long presented. Though she has publicly defended Diddy, her actions suggest self-preservation, or even guilt. Could she know more than she's admitted? If so, what does that mean for Diddy's case? Her absence weakens his defense, making it harder for his legal team to argue that he's merely a victim of circumstance when one of his biggest supporters has seemingly abandoned him. Then there's the matter of legacy. Janice has always been seen as a pillar of resilience within the Combs family, a single mother who raised a mogul against all odds. But her abrupt disappearance threatens to tarnish that image, casting a long shadow over everything she's built. It's a stark reminder that even the most carefully crafted facades can crumble under pressure. As this story unfolds, one thing is certain: Janice's escape has added yet another layer of complexity to an already chaotic situation. Whether she's running from the law, the media, or her own conscience, she has left behind a trail of unanswered questions. And while Diddy prepares for the fight of his life, he must now do so without the woman who has been his rock for over 5 decades. The ripple effects of her disappearance are only beginning to emerge, and the consequences could be more far-reaching than anyone ever imagined.
He was above the law, so I can only, think that, he was sloppy in the way that he did these crimes, that there's probably a trail of evidence, not only involving him, but everybody in his circle that he would, delegate these responsibilities to, and those people.
Diddy's legal troubles are mounting at an alarming rate. Calling it overwhelming would be an understatement. The charges against him are not only serious, but seem to grow more damning by the day. From allegations of coercion to accusations of orchestrating elaborate gatherings with questionable participants, the list appears endless. And that's just the criminal side. On the civil front, lawsuits are flooding in like a storm, with attorney Tony Busby reportedly representing a staggering 120 accusers. Yes, you read that right, 120. That number alone is enough to make anyone's head spin. While Diddy's legal team is working tirelessly to deny the claims and portray him as a victim of exaggerated accusations, the sheer volume of cases makes them impossible to ignore.
I feel like we're almost becoming numb to the lawsuit after the lawsuit after the lawsuit. And do all of the allegations against Combs so far that we've seen make the claims here, these new claims, do you think it makes it more?
So, how does Janice's sudden departure fit into all of this? It's more than just a blow to Diddy's emotional support system, it's a logistical nightmare. Janice wasn't just family, she was one of his most vocal defenders. Her public statements, where she described the allegations as a public lynching, were a key pillar of his defense strategy. She was the family's moral anchor, the one person who could vouch for Diddy's character and upbringing. But now, with her sudden disappearance, it feels like even his closest allies are abandoning ship. And while no one is saying it outright, the whispers are growing louder. Could Janice's vanishing act mean she knows something the rest of us don't? Is there a missing piece to this puzzle that has yet to be revealed?
The 8 people in the videos, the 8 celebrities in the videos, were allegedly victims of crimes. We know who they are, but we will not be naming them. Famous or...
Insiders claim that Diddy's financial situation is as severe, with a cash flow crisis that may make it difficult for him to mount a strong defense. Legal disputes are expensive, and because of the high profile of his case, he needs the best attorneys money can buy. However, because Janice allegedly embezzled a sizable portion of his remaining funds when she ran away, his finances are more stretched than ever, and let's not forget about the settlements. Diddy's team maintains that settling certain lawsuits does not amount to an admission of guilt, but the payouts have reportedly been staggering, with each settlement eroding his fortune and leaving less and less for his defense.
First of all, I can only imagine how sloppy Sean Combs was with evidence when he got busted with those 2 machine guns or 3 machine guns with the altered serial numbers. So I really don't trust Sean Combs or the people around him's ability to properly cover up anything. So I envision that you're going to see a trial, payments from his Amex for flights for people, straight payments directly from his company to...
The financial hardship isn't only about legal fees. Once a testament to his success, Diddy's economic empire is now displaying flaws in everything from his apparel brand to his record label. Everything about the Ventures and Spirits brand appears to be being scrutinized, and sponsors are retreating. Partnerships are breaking down, public opinion is changing, and even some of his most devoted partners are reportedly pulling away from the escalating dispute because they don't want to be linked to it. It's a domino effect, and one piece's demise might topple the entire system.
Important because this happened in hotels, in places that have surveillance, that there's records that could be consistent with his testimony about when he alleges that these parties took place. He probably has his own information about who attended the events. When you're somebody like Sean Combs and you're such a celebrity and you're engaged in this type of behavior, people around you are memorializing it on the...
The familial dynamic, or what's left of it, comes next. Diddy's children, who are already dealing with the media circus surrounding their father, now have to deal with the additional stress of their grandmother's absence. Let's not forget that Janice has always been a major part of their lives. She was the one who showed up for school functions, red carpet appearances, and family vacations. Her disappearance has left a void that no one else seems to be able to fill. According to an insider, the Combs household is tense and broken, with everyone on edge and unclear of what will happen next. Her abrupt departure feels like an abandonment and has left the family reeling.
He is very, very dominant. Like, he wants to control the situation. He wants to control his inner circle. He wants to make everyone have a good time and enjoy his parties. And so, you know, it is scary because you think, you know, this person or possibly his social network or the people he's around could make or break your career.
The emotional toll of Janice's disappearance isn't just weighing on the family. It's hitting Diddy hard. Sources close to the music mogul say he's struggling with feelings of betrayal and confusion, repeatedly asking why his mother would leave at such a critical time. Some speculate that her sudden departure has left him questioning everything he thought he knew about his upbringing and the people he trusted most. It's a devastating blow, one that couldn't have come at a worse time. But beyond the personal turmoil, public opinion is playing a major role in shaping this saga. Diddy has long been a master of controlling his narrative, using his charisma and influence to shape how the world sees him. This time, however, that control appears to be slipping away. Social media is ablaze with speculation, with hashtags like Diddy Downfall and Combs Chaos trending almost daily. Some fans continue to rally behind him, insisting he's the victim of a smear campaign. Others, however, are far less forgiving, pointing to the growing pile of accusations and asking a difficult question: how much more evidence needs to surface before people start believing the claims?
But it will be up to the jury, and there's really another piece of this case, and that's the racketeering case, and they don't really talk about that. Diddy's attorneys, Sean Combs' attorneys, they stay away from the racketeering part of this. They are focused solely on the trafficking part of this case.
And we must not overlook the documentaries that have been making the rounds on streaming platforms like wildfire. From Peacock's Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, to Discovery, Diddy's Fall, these exposes are presenting a picture of a man whose empire was founded on secrets and scandal. Each documentary seems to bring new revelations, new witnesses, and new reasons to question Diddy's legacy. Although his legal team has dismissed these films as sensationalized and biased, they cannot deny the impact they are having on public opinion, and at the moment, reality appears grim.
There's a lot of information that needs to be substantiated, investigated, and those kinds of things. But when we look at people who become offenders, we oftentimes see early exposure to whether that's or actual behavior, and we oftentimes see that within the family.
While Diddy has always been candid about his difficult upbringing and the difficulties he faced, these new revelations cast his past in a much darker light. It's one thing to overcome adversity, but it's another to continue the same behaviors that once caused you pain. This is one of the most damning aspects of these documentaries. Tim Patterson, for example, has come forward with stories that suggest the seeds of Diddy's current troubles were planted long ago. Patterson's accounts of the wild gatherings at Janice's house, where anything seemed to go, have added fuel to the fire.
So remember when I said Diddy mother might be the originator of the freak-offs?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so apparently tomorrow there's the Peacock is dropping the Diddy documentary. It's called Diddy, the Making of a Bad Boy, and the doc gets into Diddy's childhood and his experience growing up.
Even more unsettling are the testimonies of former coworkers, partners, and industry insiders. These are not just ordinary people, they are people who were once in Diddy's inner circle, and their stories paint a picture of a man who used his influence and power to get what he wanted, frequently at the expense of others. Whether it's former girlfriends reporting uncomfortable situations or workers detailing a toxic workplace, the narrative is consistent. Diddy was a man who thrived on control, and when that control was challenged, things became ugly.
You say the wrong thing, or you complain, or you know, I don't know, there's an element where you just, I guess manipulated in a way to make you feel like, oh, you have to please everyone around you. You can't say anything wrong. You don't want to say a bad thing, or you know, when they're constantly asking, would you like to do drugs? And you're like, well, I don't do drugs. And they're like, well, why don't you do drugs?
Janice's role in this unfolding drama cannot be overlooked. While she has often been portrayed as a loving yet flawed mother, her sudden disappearance raises serious questions. How much did she really know? Was she aware of the allegations against her son before they became public? Did she, in some way, enable his behavior, directly or indirectly? And if so, does her departure signal guilt, fear, or simply a desire to protect herself? These are questions that may never have clear answers, but they add yet another layer of complexity to an already tangled story. As Diddy's trial date looms, the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about proving his innocence, it's about salvaging his legacy. But with every new lawsuit, every fresh revelation, and now the unexpected disappearance of his mother, his once mighty empire appears more fragile than ever. What was once a symbol of triumph and resilience now seems like a house of cards, teetering on the edge of collapse. Yet, despite the chaos, uncertainty remains. Will Diddy find a way to turn things around, or is this the beginning of the end for one of hip-hop's most iconic figures? Will Janice re-emerge to explain her actions, or will her disappearance remain one of the great unanswered mysteries of this saga? One thing is certain, this story is far from over. In fact, it feels like we're only beginning to scratch the surface. The Combs family has never been predictable, and as this drama continues to unfold, the question on everyone's mind is, what happens next?